Hello friends. Today I am reviewing the Seed Studio reTerminal E1001, a ready-made information display with an electronic paper screen. Out of the box, the device works with the SenseCraft HMI platform and allows you to create your own information dashboard. However, I was primarily interested in whether it could be turned into a fully local display for Home Assistant. As a result, instead of the SenseCraft start page, the display began showing real data from my smart home system. Externally, the reTerminal E1001 resembles a small digital photo frame. The rear panel has physical buttons, a USB-C connector, a memory card slot, a power switch, and a mount for wall installation. Thanks to the built-in battery, the display can operate for some time without being permanently connected by cable. First, I will test the standard SenseCraft platform. I will show the initial device connection, registration using a code, and the templates available in the cloud interface. Then we will move on to ESPHome. We will install alternative firmware, connect the device to Home Assistant, and work out how to send the values of the required entities to the screen. The YAML code for this project was written with the help of ChatGPT. My contribution was the technical specification, the selection of the displayed parameters, the installation of the configuration, and testing the result on a real device. The full version of my YAML configuration is publicly available on GitHub. The link is in the description below the video. You will need to replace the Home Assistant entity IDs, network settings, and other values with the data from your own system. To adapt the project, it is more convenient to first upload the configuration to the artificial intelligence system you use, ask it to study the structure and explain the main sections, and then modify them for your own sensors, devices, and tasks. Before uploading it to third-party services, be sure to remove or replace passwords, encryption keys, and other sensitive data. As a result, I created two information pages. The first shows the grid status, total load, battery charge and power, as well as the load on the three phases of the die inverter. The second displays the outdoor temperature, humidity, and atmospheric pressure, as well as the temperature in the living room, bedroom, and children's room. The white buttons can be used to switch between pages, while the green one forces a screen refresh. Let us see how convenient all of this is in practice and whether the reTerminal E1001 is suitable for permanent use in a smart home. The reTerminal E1001 comes in a simple cardboard box without color printing. The front shows the reTerminal E series name and a schematic image of the display itself. The specific model is not indicated here because the series includes both the monochrome E1001 and the color E1002. Inside, the device is protected quite thoroughly. The upper section is completely covered by a thick foam insert, so the screen does not touch the lid of the box and is protected from impacts during transportation. The package includes the display itself, a USB Type-C cable, a quick start guide, a desktop stand, and a set of installation accessories. There is no power adapter in the box, but the device does not necessarily require a separate adapter for continuous operation because it already has a built-in battery. The quick start guide lists the main specifications of both models in the series. The E1001 is based on the ESP32 S3 and has 8 MB of PSRAM and 32 MB of built-in storage. It supports 2.4 GHz Wi-Fi, Bluetooth 5.0, and microSD cards with a capacity of up to 32 GB. The monochrome screen has a diagonal of 7.5 inches and a resolution of 800 by 480 pixels, while the built-in battery has a capacity of 2,000 mAh. For charging, the package includes a USB-A cable with an angled USB-C plug. There is no mains adapter, so you will need a standard power supply with a 5-volt USB output and a current rating of at least 1 ampere. From the front, the reTerminal looks like a minimalist electronic photo frame. Almost the entire surface is occupied by the screen, surrounded by a white plastic bezel, while the lower section is made slightly wider. There are no logos, labels, or touch controls on the front panel, so the device fits easily into both home and office interiors. From the rear, it is clear that this is a fully finished device rather than simply an e-paper module installed in a case. There is an opening for wall mounting, a ventilation grill, access to the connectors, and a separate electronics compartment. Labels are printed on the enclosure, so the purpose of the main controls is clear even without the instructions. The side edge has a micro SD card slot, a mechanical power switch, LED indicators, and a USB Type-C port. It is used not only for charging, but also for connecting the device to a computer and flashing its firmware. There are 3 physical buttons on the top edge. In the factory firmware, the green button is used to wake the device and manually refresh the screen contents, while the 2 white buttons allow you to switch between pages. Their functions can be changed when custom firmware is installed. When the device is switched on for the first time, the factory SenseCraft HMI firmware starts. The device creates its own Wi-Fi access point, and its name is shown directly on the screen. You can then connect to this network from a smartphone or computer, select your home Wi-Fi network, and enter the password. The QR code on the right leads to detailed instructions, while the screen already demonstrates the main property of electronic paper at this stage. The image remains visible without backlighting or constant refreshing. For the initial setup, I connected the device to power just in case, so there would be no risk of it switching off because of a discharged battery during an important step. Thanks to the plug design, the cable does not stick out from the side, and a red LED near the connector lights up to indicate charging. At the bottom, you can see the included plastic stand, which I screwed on so the screen could be placed on a desk. From this point, everything is fairly straightforward. First, you need to connect your phone to the access point created by the reTerminal itself, after which the local setup page opens automatically. On this page, you select your home Wi-Fi network, enter the password, and start the connection process. The entire process is quite user-friendly and does not require a separate application to be installed at this stage. After successfully connecting to the home network, the device displays a pairing code on the screen. This is the code required to add the reTerminal to the SenseCraft HMI web interface. In other words, the initial Wi-Fi setup is already complete at this point, and you can proceed to registering the device with the Seed Studio Cloud platform. After connecting to Wi-Fi, you can open the SenseCraft HMI web interface. To add a new screen, you first need the device section, because this is where registration and further work with the reTerminal begin. A user account is required to use SenseCraft. You can sign into an existing account or register a new one using an email address or one of the available authentication systems. After signing in, the form for adding a new device opens in the device section. Here, you only need to click New Device, enter a clear name, and type in the pairing code currently displayed on the reTerminal itself. After successful registration, the device appears in the list and is immediately shown as connected. Here, you can see its name, serial number, screen size, display type, current status, battery level, and firmware version. This means that even at this stage, SenseCraft provides basic information about the state of the connected display. Immediately after pairing, the screen replaces the start page with the Seed Studio branded screen showing the model name. After pairing, SenseCraft offers to update the firmware. I select Update Now so that I can test the remaining features using the current version. The update is performed using the built-in flasher in the Tools section. A standard firmware flash preserves the Wi-Fi settings and added content, while full flash completely resets the device to its factory state, so I leave this option disabled. At the first step, you select the device model. The list supports various Seed Studio displays. In my case, it is the monochrome reTerminal E1001. Next, you select the firmware version. Previous builds are also available, but for testing I install the latest version currently available, E1001 version 1.1.4. There is also a built-in serial monitor for viewing the device's service messages. It is not required for a normal update, but it may be useful when diagnosing boot or connection problems. After clicking Flash, select the COM port to which the display is connected in the pop-up window. The firmware is then downloaded and installed. The device must remain connected over USB, and it is best not to close the browser tab until the process is complete. The update completed successfully. Because the standard flash mode was used, there was no need to configure Wi-Fi again or pair the device with the account a second time. After restarting, the reTerminal appeared in SenseCraft again as connected, and the firmware version in the device card changed from 1.0.0 to 1.1.4. The screen type is now also identified more precisely, not simply as mono, but as 4 gray, meaning that it supports 4 shades of gray. To avoid spending too much time on the standard platform, I will demonstrate only one typical scenario, using a ready-made template. To do this, I return to the SenseCraft homepage, where there is a gallery of available layouts for different ePaper devices. As an example, I select the People and Space template. Its page shows that it is designed for the reTerminal E1001 with a resolution of 800 by 480, while the Add to My Page button on the right adds the layout to the workspace. After it is added, the template opens in Workspace. Here, you can view the finished page, make changes if necessary, and then send it to the device using the Apply button. Before sending it, SenseCraft asks you to select the target device and the basic operating parameters, including the refresh interval and battery saver mode. After that, all that remains is to click Deploy. As a result, the template is loaded onto the screen and demonstrates in practice how a finished information widget looks on a monochrome ePaper display. This approach allows you to get a working screen in literally a few minutes without programming or manual layout work. During a manual refresh, the device emits a short beep and the screen is inverted for a few seconds. This is the normal full refresh cycle of electronic paper, after which the image is displayed again. The image remains on the screen even when the power is completely switched off. I move the mechanical switch to the OFF position. The device is no longer operating, but the display contents remain unchanged. Power will only be required for the next page refresh. In addition to the standard SenseCraft platform, the device supports several alternative platforms. Demonstration firmware is available for Arduino, TRMNL, and Easy Studio, but for integration with Home Assistant, I am interested in the ESPHome option. ESPHome Firmware Hub offers two hardware options: the monochrome reTerminal E1001 and the color E1002. Support for 4 shades of gray is listed separately for the E1001. I select my model, after which the available firmware settings should appear. Firmware Hub generates a ready-made ESPHome configuration and allows you to choose which hardware capabilities will be used. I leave the display, buttons, buzzer, LED, battery monitoring, temperature and humidity sensor, real-time clock, Home Assistant API, and Wi-Fi updates enabled. For now, I disable the microphone, memory card, and deep sleep mode. Now we scroll down the page. Here, we can see the automatically generated YAML configuration for ESPHome, created according to the settings we have just selected. We click the Download button and save the configuration. Now we go to ESPHome Builder and create a new device. Since we already have a configuration, we do not need to build it from scratch and can immediately import the prepared YAML file. In the Advanced menu options, you need to select Import from File. This method allows you to immediately upload the prepared configuration, which already describes the device's main capabilities. Next, I select the YAML configuration file for the reTerminal E1001 that I have just downloaded. I upload it to ESPHome without making any changes. Immediately after importing it, a typical situation occurs. The configuration uses secrets that have not yet been defined locally. These are the API encryption key and the password for OTA updates. Without them, the project will not pass validation correctly. The API encryption key can be generated on the ESPHome website. I will leave the link in the description. You can create the password yourself or use any password generation service. Next, we open the ESPHome secrets file and add the lines missing from the project, the generated key and password. After that, we save the updated file. I return to the configuration editor, and the error has now disappeared. There is nothing preventing us from proceeding to the next step. After all the missing secrets have been added, the complete configuration can be checked. To do this, I select Validate from the device menu so that ESPHome performs a full YAML check before compilation. The validation completes successfully, and ESPHome reports that the configuration is valid. This means that there are no remaining syntax errors and the project is ready for the next stage, compilation and the initial firmware installation. We can now proceed with installation. Since the device is being flashed for the first time, I select Plug into this computer. This is the initial installation over USB, after which future updates can be performed over the network. After the installation method is selected, ESPHome begins compiling the firmware. At this stage, the required components are downloaded, the project is built, and a finished binary file is created for the selected configuration. When compilation is complete, ESPHome reports that the firmware has been created successfully. I then click Open USB Flasher. The ESPHome web page opens, allowing the device to be flashed directly from the browser. I connect the device to the computer and click Connect and Install. After that, you need to select the COM port on which the system has detected the connected display. The writing process then begins, erasing the memory, transferring the file, and flashing the device. The first installation may take some time, so I simply wait for the procedure to finish without closing the window or interrupting the process. After the installation is complete, the device's operational logs appear. They show that the firmware has started correctly. The device boots, initializes the display, detects the temperature, humidity, and battery values, then connects to Wi-Fi and receives its network settings. I return to ESPHome Builder and can see that the device is already shown as online. This means that the firmware was installed successfully, the device is accessible over the network, and it is ready for further configuration and integration with Home Assistant. The reTerminal E1001 screen itself displays the test ESPHome dashboard. You can see that the device is already showing the main data, temperature, humidity, and battery level. The RDC is still waiting for time synchronization, but overall this confirms that the display, sensors, and basic configuration are working correctly. After the initial firmware installation, the device appears in the active Home Assistant system as an automatically discovered ESPHome device. A new reTerminal E1001 is visible in the list of integrations, and the system immediately offers to add it to the configuration. When it is added, Home Assistant opens a confirmation window for the discovered device. I confirm the connection, after which the system proceeds to the next setup step. Because ESPHome API encryption is enabled in the configuration, Home Assistant asks for the encryption key. I enter the same key that was previously added to secrets.yaml and confirm the device connection. Next, all that remains is to enter a clear device name and, if necessary, assign it to an area. I leave the name reTerminal_E1001 and assign the device to the required room so that it immediately appears correctly in the Home Assistant structure. After setup is complete, the device appears in the system as a fully functional ESPHome integration. Its page provides the battery level and voltage, temperature, humidity, button states, and controls for the buzzer and built-in LED. The reTerminal has now been fully added to the active Home Assistant system, and we can proceed to the next stage. The main task for which all of this was planned is to display the main parameters of my Dyson 15K inverter. I have already shown the system itself, its operating modes, and this Home Assistant interface in detail in separate reviews. The links are in the description, so here I will focus specifically on sending the data to the ePaper display. I add Home Assistant platform sensors to the ESPHome configuration. They receive the total grid exchange power, total household load, battery charge level and power, as well as the load on each of the three phases separately. The external grid status is sent separately through a binary sensor. It is linked to an existing DI object in Home Assistant and allows the screen to display a clear online or offline status. I add another object as a text sensor. It receives the current battery state, such as charging, discharging, or idle. In the current screen design, this parameter is not displayed directly, but it is already available for future interface development. Next, I modify the image output section. I set the refresh interval to 5 minutes, and in the template itself, I place the inverter name, grid status and power, total load, battery charge and power, as well as the values for the three phases. Because the initial installation was already performed over USB, the updated configuration can now be uploaded over Wi-Fi. I select Network Installation, so there is no need to connect the reTerminal to the computer again. ESPHome recompiles the firmware and sends it to the device over OTA. For future changes, this process is considerably more convenient because all the work can be performed remotely. After restarting, the log shows that ESPHome has registered the added Home Assistant objects and is accessing the specified DI entity IDs. This confirms that the new configuration is running and waiting to receive their states. Immediately after booting, the screen already shows the new layout, but dashes are temporarily displayed instead of values, and the grid status is shown as unknown. At this stage, The reTerminal is already connected to Wi-Fi, but the data from Home Assistant has not yet been transmitted. After a while, the values appeared automatically. The screen displays the availability of the external grid, its current power, the total household load, the battery charge and power, and below that, the distribution of the load across the 3 phases. The reTerminal therefore works as a fully local information display that receives data directly from Home Assistant. First, I make a few improvements to the finished inverter page. Negative phase power values can be confusing here, so I display their absolute values. I also remove the data from Home Assistant service label at the bottom. Instead, the date and time will be displayed on the left, while the charge level of the reTerminal's own battery will be shown on the right. For the second page, I add another 6 Home Assistant entities to the configuration. The upper section will use data from the outdoor sensor, temperature, humidity, and atmospheric pressure. The lower section will show the temperature in the living room, bedroom, and children's room. At the same time, I change the functions of the physical buttons. The green button triggers a forced refresh of the current page. The right white button moves the screen forward, while the left one returns to the previous page. The display refreshes immediately after each page switch. In the display section, instead of one common lambda, I create separate pages. The first receives the page_die ID and contains the previously prepared Sun 15K inverter dashboard with the grid status, total load, battery charge, and phase load distribution. Next, I add the second page_climate. It uses the same visual style but is intended for climate data. The upper section contains outdoor readings, while the lower section shows the temperature in 3 rooms. The bottom line with the date, time, and reTerminal battery level remains common to both pages. After making the changes, I run the configuration validation again. ESPHome successfully accepts the new sensors, the 2 display pages, and the reassigned buttons. The configuration passes validation without errors and is ready for installation. After flashing, the new climate control page appears. The upper section displays the outdoor temperature, humidity, and pressure, while the lower section shows the temperature in the living room, bedroom, and children's room. All the data comes from Home Assistant and is updated at the same interval as the inverter page, 300 seconds. As a result, the reTerminal now works as a multi-page information dashboard. The white buttons can be used to switch between the inverter screen and the climate page. The green button can be used to manually refresh the current screen. During a refresh, the display is briefly inverted, which is the normal redraw cycle of electronic paper. Ultimately, the Seed Studio reTerminal E1001 proved to be a convenient foundation for a smart home information dashboard. The pre-installed SenseCraft platform did not interest me personally. I had planned to install ESPHome, and in the end, that decision was fully justified. In my case, I created 2 pages. The first displays the parameters of the 3-phase die inverter, which was the main objective. I also added climate data from outdoors and from several rooms. The white buttons switch between pages, while the green one triggers a forced screen refresh. However, I do not think I will stop here, and I will probably add something else. The main advantages of the device are its high-quality e-paper screen, finished enclosure, built-in battery, and physical buttons. At the same time, you need to take into account the slow refresh speed of electronic paper and the need to modify the YAML configuration yourself when using ESPHome. According to my preliminary observations, in my configuration with a permanent Wi-Fi connection and a refresh every 5 minutes, the battery discharged by approximately 22 to 25% over 10 hours. Therefore, for continuous operation, it is better to use USB power. To increase battery life, you will need to experiment with the refresh interval and deep sleep mode. Overall, the reTerminal E1001 is suitable for anyone who needs a ready-made, neat e-paper display for Home Assistant without having to build the enclosure and electronics themselves. The setup will take some time, but the result can be fully adapted to your own smart home. That is all. I hope the video was useful and interesting to you. I would appreciate your likes, as they help promote the video on YouTube. If you do not want to miss new smart home reviews and tutorials, subscribe to the channel. You will find all the mentioned links, as well as my Telegram channels, social media pages, and discussion groups, in the description below the video. Thank you for watching. See you next time, and peace to everyone.